Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Tuesday. I hope you are teed up and ready for some pro wrestling punditry because we are the golf drivers that are going to be swinging it into your ear holes here today. I am the Wrestling Inc. managing editor, Nick Hausman, and of course, he is my co-host here today, sitting in for EJ Cameron, who was booked and is away being famous on assignment. It's our fellow famous friend, Paul Pratt, a.k.a. Polio Del Mar. Paul, welcome back to the Daily.
Hey, I think you've overdone it with the accolades, but congratulations for EJ being out there doing something besides driving things into people's ear holes.
Yeah, EJ does a lot. He drives things into their ear holes, their eye holes, because he's always on stage at Second City. I don't know what's going on, but
all the holes.
All the holes. EJ fills all the holes. And yesterday they announced the new SNL cast members, and EJ's not here today. I don't want to get into speculation, but maybe EJ could be going Hollywood. I don't know. He's probably going to hate me for saying that. So anyway.
Yeah, well, there's nothing worse than like setting people up for disappointment.
Yeah, well,
an EJ and then they'll get somebody else.
Well, we're not going to disappoint you here today. It is me, absolutely Paul. Not. We got everybody here in the comment section. Lady Wiz, happy Tuesday. Dean Bragg, hi Wiz. Wait, what's going on with I like my different version of this. My banners, I like them. Yeah, I like this version better. Can I do this? Let's see here. We have Moppy. Paul will likely have some disparaging comments towards Cody today, just a guess. I don't think Cody's on our run sheet today.
Cody's not on my run sheet. And everybody thinks I hate Cody Rhodes. I don't. I just wish he understood his character.
Fair enough. Legit criticisms. Growth here, everybody. We're all capable of learning and growing. Brian Bills, 1417, Nick and PDM. That's the kind of energy we want in the house today. We want everybody excited, up, ready to go. A lot of news to get to here. Before we get to that and some big audio, we want to start off on a somber note. Send our condolences to the family, friends, fans of former WWE superstar Ryan Keiji Sakota. He passed away at the age of 46 back on September 2nd. So for those that don't know, after spending several years of promotions such as UPW and XWF, Sakota was brought in as an enhancement talent by WWE in 2003, and by the fall of that year, he was signed to a contract. Now, during his career at WWE, Sakota had a brief run on SmackDown, paired with Akio, James Yoon, a.k.a. Jimmy Wang Yang, and Yoshiro Tajiri. Sakota was eventually released by WWE in August of 2004. He took part in MTV's Wrestling Society X for a season, and then after WWE and WSX, he continued to work on the indies until about 2007. The last anybody really heard of him in the wrestling space, he was a part of the lawsuit filed in 2015 against WWE, alleging that they were Luther Reigns, Bruce McCullough. It wound up being a whole bunch of wrestlers suing for injuries that they sustained while working for WWE, and ultimately those cases were permanently dismissed about last year by the Supreme Court. So we don't know how he passed. It's not really relevant here. What is relevant is we lost another member of the community. Any thoughts on the passing of Ryan Sakota, Paul?
What it made me think about it is the fact that people, tangentially impact and affect other people. And as you know, like I was just at the NWA tapings for the pay-per-views, and Jimmy Yang Wang was there. So while I don't know Ryan personally, like my thoughts go out to those people who are around him who are affected. When people pass away, they're in peace now. I like to believe, but the people who remain, who were touched by their lives, kind of have to go through whatever emotional situation that happens.
Absolutely. A friend of the show, Paul London, was very close with Ryan. He had some great words he shared on social media yesterday. I encourage you to seek those out. And just like Paul, yes, we're sending our best out to everybody who is grieving today. But it's some good news. As one leaves us, another comes into this world. We want to congratulate Ronda Rousey, Travis Brown on the birth of their first daughter. I'm going to try my best.
God bless you, because I don't want to have to pronounce it.
I tried a couple times this morning. We'll see how good I am here. All right. Lakea Makaleka Palakala Canapino. I'll take it. Brown. Very easy last name. Got that. Anyway, Lakea Born into this world yesterday. Congratulations to Ronda and Travis. I'm sure this baby will be in the cage, maybe in a couple months. This baby's born into
they're gonna put her in the crib and she's gonna start fighting right there in that cage.
Yeah,
right. Like the crib that they've got for her is shaped like an octagon.
Yes, thank you. All right, well, hey, that's it. That's our congratulations, our well wishes out of the way. Wrestling Inc. rocks. You're saying, hey, good podcast, Dean Bragg, Nick. I am so excited. Get excited because not just me and Paul here today. If you're listening to us in audio form, my conversation today is with MLW World Heavyweight Champion, the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu. He has a big title versus title match against North American Openweight Champion, National Openweight Champion, Alexander Hammerstone. This Saturday night, MLW Fightland in Philly. It's going to air next Thursday after Dark Side of the Ring. So you're going to get to hear from him all about that big bout, MLW, and, of course, what's going on with the Anawahis, right? I just read a crazy, Islander name. I don't know if I'm going to say Hawaiian or not, but, what's going on with the Anawahi family there? You're going to hear from that today from Jacob Fatu, the Samoan Werewolf. Of course, that'll be what? Yes?
Well, I have choice words for Jacob and Journey, his brother, Fatu, in their own right. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, but Jacob and Journey gave me a stink face.
Did they now?
Yes, they did. So Jacob Fatu, you better be glad that I'm not the one who was talking to you.
Now, did he pull his pants all the way down? Did you get cheek? Did you get cheek or did you get cloth? What did you get?
I got with an ass like that. It wasn't from Jacob. It was from Journey.
Oh,
with an ass like that, you get cheek and cloth. More cheek than cloth.
Okay, because Rikishi sat on my face before, so we share that. We've both been stink faced by the Fatu family, Paul.
Yes, but the difference was, mine was not by choice. I know that you let people just randomly sit on your face.
Why would you think mine was my choice? Why? What? No, I was butt assaulted by Rikishi.
Exactly, putting the ass in assault.
Well, that's great. I didn't know we shared that, Paul. That's amazing.
Yes, I mean, and the team, we have a big match against them the week after. So Jacob and Dirty versus my tag team, Money Power Respect, in a steel cage at East Bay Pro Wrestling.
Well, there you go. Wow,
yeah.
Wow,
great tie-in.
Look at all of the synergy in the air here today, Paul.
Serendipity. I will gain my revenge on Jacob and Journey.
Okay, whoa, all right. Calling out the guest here today is Paul Pratt. All right. Well, like I was about to say, if you're watching us in video form live, in about 50 minutes, this will premiere over on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. You go check out me and Jacob there. And at the end of the show for everybody, we'll dive to the mailbag. I got a question about the WWE draft, which is going to start up this Friday night on SmackDown. But before we get to that, let's get to it. News you can use, news that'll leave a bruise. We're going to start with the Wrestling Inc. exclusive news from yesterday, broken by our own Raj Giri. Alexa Bliss is going to be off of WWE TV soon, if not already. She was not on Raw last night. She was defeated by Charlotte at Extreme Rules. After the match, Flair ripped up Lily, Bliss's doll. Now, it's not known how long she's going to be off TV, but from what we're told, it's going to be a few months. Thoughts on Alexa Bliss leaving our television program?
Well, I think that, my question would be, is this going to be an opportunity for them to reboot her character? Will she come back as a different form of Alexa Bliss? And part of me has to believe that, Alexa seemed displeased, obviously, with the release of Bray Wyatt some months ago, and took a lot of heat for the continuation of her character in that vein, basically as a spin-off, right, of a character and a beloved character that they released. So will she come back in a different form? Will we see a different version of that? Has Lily been destroyed? Has the evil queen, Charlotte Flair, destroyed this evil doll?
I love, the rumor is that Bray is going to, show up on Dynamite tomorrow night. I'm sure you've heard that, right, Paul?
Yes.
How great would it be if lights out, there's Bray, and he's got Lily, and Lily has defected from WWE after being disrespected and joins Bray over in Dynamite Land?
That would be fantastic on one level and then horrible on another.
Okay, great. I think several layers. I think it's like 7 layers of horrible.
7-layer dip.
Yeah, got it.
A 7-layer dip with it. Yeah.
Wonderful. So yeah, I mean, I do think that this is probably going to be a chance for her to change characters. I mean, and it's just always been weird because the whole crux of Alexa's character is that she was like, the spawn of the cult of Wyatt, and with no Wyatt, like, where does that kind of leave her? I mean, you could stretch it and kind of play with it, morph it, but I don't know that the fans are ever going to really let go of that, especially with Wyatt not around here. So I do hope that we don't know what's going on. Her and Ryan Cabrera could be doing a reality show for all we know, right? Because she's married to Ryan Cabrera, right?
Are they married? I thought they were together for sure, but I don't know. Maybe they are.
I think he popped the question. I'm pretty sure Ryan Cabrera has popped it. Anyway, they could be off doing whatever. She could be doing whatever. We don't really know exactly, but if it is going to be for a while here, yeah, I hope she comes back. Not this. I don't know that this plays anymore. And I know you've been an advocate for her. You've been a fan.
Yeah, I like what she does. I like the work. I like that. I'm a fan of that kind of distortion of reality, right? Like that willing suspension of my disbelief for this character. But I think that also the things have a shelf life. And I think that, in part, probably WWE has milked this as far as they want to at the time. And it's something that they have in their back pocket because, she could come back as another version of herself. And then anytime, if they want to revert to that, she just snaps, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think you Mick Foley it, right? You can always, or like, what you do with the Demon Finn Balor. You can bring Alexa back, I would even maybe do the series of vignettes where she went to a mental hospital for a little bit. It had to be unwound, right? Uncorked kind of to come back. So there's always something under the surface. You could play with those waters. Why not?
Yeah. Girl interrupted.
Yeah. So we have here, by the way, Samantha saying they're engaged. Her and Ryan are only engaged. Okay. All right. Well, good. I'm glad we got that all sorted out, Paul.
So, Nick, I'm going to explain so when people date for a long time, sometimes they pop the question, but that doesn't mean they're immediately married.
Mm-hmm. What?
Fact, Liz, wow. Are you listening to this?
She is probably in the other room. Yeah, maybe. I watched 90 Day Fiance. I know how it works. I know how things work. It's a great program. 90 Day Fiance. All right. Well, let's dive into Raw last night. Alexa, like we said, was not on the show. There were a couple newsworthy items. First of all, this whole show, we should note, was anchored around Big E, Bobby Lashley. There was earlier in the show the tag match between the New Day. Wait, what was it? No,
it starts off.
We start talking with Big E and Lashley, right?
Yes, the title match.
Yeah. Right. And then all the teams got involved, is what happened. Okay. Yeah, New Day. First, we see the Hurt Business come out, back together. No explanation. I mean, do we need one, though? I was just happy to see him back.
I was extremely happy to see them back.
Right.
That team should have never gone away. They were legitimately the most engaging, entertaining, consistent thing on that program for months. So the fact that they fell apart for no reason as soon as he became the champion was absurd.
Yeah, and we'll find out more, I'm sure, about, the reunification. Where's the MVP and all this, right? But, man, yeah, just out of nowhere, you see Big E on the ground, the camera pans up, and then just, boom, they're there. And even, Corey Graves on commentary is just kind of, surprised by, what just happened? Wait, where are these guys? They're back. Okay, sure. Just accept it blindly. So they come back. New Day comes out. Big brawl. Out comes Adam Pearce. He announces main event's going to be the steel cage match. And the first part of this, the first match tonight, they already did about a half hour's worth of work. I mean, it wasn't just like some opening 15-minute segment. Those guys went out there and worked like a full match before all this stuff broke down.
Yeah, there were a couple of takeaways for me from this. Number one, we just saw Dynamite start really hot with that Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson match. Draws people in, gives them something to look forward to. And then this provided a level of continuity for the rest of the show that Raw has traditionally been lacking. I mean, usually it starts out as like a one-on-one match and they end with like a horrible 6-man or tag team match that's, on the spot. Of course, I was really glad for them that they just, interestingly enough, had that cage hanging over the, the ring, which whatever, but willing suspension of disbelief. But one of the things I did take away from this is that whether or not, they pushed it. New Day interfered and cost Bobby Lashley that match.
Right.
Hurt Business didn't touch him, but we couldn't say the same thing for New Day. New Day jumped in the ring and broke that pinfall up. It was very interesting twist on that. And to me, I don't think that it necessarily books Big E as a new champion very strong.
I've been thinking very similar things, even from the get, right? Like the whole cashing in the Money in the Bank on like an injured Bobby Lashley, because like Lashley was making valid points, right? I wish that promo he had cut at Extreme Rules had been accompanied by some physicality, to kind of put an exclamation point on how unhappy he was. And I also wish this had happened before he ate 2 pinfalls in tag matches or triple threat matches going into last night. I mean, what we saw last night, I wish had been the direct follow-up, and we hadn't gotten all the triple threat tag stuff that had gone on in between,
I'm going to be 100% frank because I always try to be very transparent with listeners or viewers. I did not watch Extreme Rules. I barely watched WWE programming leading up to Extreme Rules. And it's not because I have a preference for any other company. It's because WWE lost me along this journey. A couple months ago, I accidentally missed Raw. I was busy. And it never even fazed me. You know what I mean? It didn't occur to me. Nobody was saying anything positive, particularly about it on social media. Nothing made me want to catch up. So as we were leading into this pay-per-view, I wasn't watching as regularly. Nothing was seeming to happen to make me want to watch this show. And I did not watch Extreme Rules. So there wasn't a single match on that show that I was interested in. Period.
I'm with you. I was fortunately in an airplane and had literally nothing to do in a stable Wi-Fi and was able to watch this wrestling program, which actually was like kind of nice. But I'm with you, man. And I walked out of Extreme Rules on Sunday night, and I did watch Extreme Rules, and I said, I don't know what the hook here is for Raw. I know what it is for SmackDown, right? The top rope breaking thing with Finn, what's going on there. Sasha Banks is back. That's the women's division thing. But there's no follow-up to really the women's division angle with Alexa Bliss, because Alexa wasn't even on the show. New direction here from Charlotte, who, by the way, is Charlotte, and it's not on the run sheet here, but is Charlotte now going to be pushed as like a badass baby face after beating Doudrop? Because everybody's like, I saw that, and then I saw the stuff up top with the New Day attacking Lashley, and I'm like, why are all the baby faces? It's all gray area stuff. Nobody's being booked consistently, I guess, was one of the things I took away from last night.
Right. I mean, we had Charlotte defeat Doudrop because of the fact that Eva Marie came out to do her thing. Then, Charlotte attacks Eva Marie, which gives her babyface, rub, pop. I don't understand. I will say this before anybody jumps in is like, oh my God, a WWE hater. Again, not at all. I love wrestling and I want to be engaged in the show. My experience and takeaway from this time away from watching it is I came back, and last night at least did not, if it has been repetitive, it didn't feel repetitive to me because I gave a break for a few months.
Right.
Like 6 weeks, whatever it was. And so I actually largely kind of like enjoyed significant portions of Raw, but overall, I don't feel compelled to want to return to it next week.
They're going to need to do more shows like they did last night, which really had like the story arc to it, which you mentioned, right? They had a through line there with the Big E, Lashley, Hurt Business, New Day.
Right.
I mean, that filled up over an hour's worth of Raw last night between the opening segment and then the last, I think they gave them 35, 40 minutes of Raw to do everything with the cage match and all the shenanigans around that. I mean, they anchored the show around these two guys, and those two guys felt really, really important, in my opinion. I thought this was the best that Lashley and Big E had been used in, like, since even maybe before the cash-in, it was just a really good use of both of them. There was you also saw right up top, very AEW style. We're going to show you each match graphic. We're going to tell you exactly what you're going to be getting. We're going to deliver on it largely. And then we're going to get right to the action. They didn't open up with a big promo last night. They opened with a big bout. I think it is very interesting to see WWE in this moment as they're trying to find momentum, becoming a little bit of the Pepsi that is now the Coke of AEW's formula at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think that there's a reason that I think there's a reason they should do that, because the problem that I've had is when I tune into Raw, it feels so formulaic. I mean, like people will, people joke, it's cliche, like, oh, it's going to end up in a tag team match and or this, and those are all like tropes that they've played out to the point where it begins to feel like every episode feels the same. There is no distinction between them.
Yeah, and I see Rob Humphrey here saying they need to launch Raw 2.0. That's the answer, right? Make it flashier, put Braun Breaker in there. So as we talk about kind of mixed signals being sent about talent, especially heading into the draft, right? The New Day babies, but they're acting like heels. Charlotte Flair is a heel, but she attacks Eva Marie to a big pop. I think the ultimate kind of tweener appeared at the end there, which is after Big E had retained over Bobby Lashley in this really wild steel cage match. Out comes Drew McIntyre, sword and all, pointing down Big E. And call me crazy, this feels like the setup to maybe a heel Drew McIntyre. I don't know how you just do baby with him and Big E. I feel like one of them's going to have to turn. We got teases, I guess, of Big E doing heel stuff, but he seems so beloved right now. And McIntyre's babyface run has gone on for quite some time. I don't know. What do you think's going to happen here with these two?
Honestly, I don't hate the idea of babyface versus babyface.
Okay.
And the one problem I'm having is I still haven't acclimated to the idea of Big E as the WWE World Champion.
Sure.
So, Bobby Lashley, to me, has just embodied that so much over the last many months. And I think that for him, I was waiting for it for a really long time. I liked his presentation as champion. Big E, I'm still having an issue with. But, if you're going to solidify him, he's going to need some big victories. And I think that Drew McIntyre would be presumably a way to do that.
With Bobby Lashley here, it looks like he's going to be having a big bout at Crown Jewel as Goldberg appeared, cut this pre-tape promo. And I'm sure you saw the art. The art is really what everyone was talking about coming out of this, with him holding little baby Gage in his big Goldberg arm, right?
I didn't see that, but yeah.
Oh, you didn't see that?
No.
Oh, maybe I'll pull it up and screen share it a little bit. Yeah, it's like over his shoulder was a piece of art where baby Gage was just draped in his big Goldberg arm when he was a man. When he was a man.
Yeah, I like this whole thing to me is, it was a misfire from the beginning, because no matter how they try to repaint it, the kid still jumped in the ring, still jumped on the back of a beast and got a beat down. And, it's not the responsibility of Lashley to determine whether or not the kid deserved a beat down in the moment. Like, somebody jumped on his back, you got a beat down, the end. Control your kid.
Now, on the other side of this, like, you don't typically hear wrestlers talk about like murdering the other person, right? Because like Goldberg was very explicit about that, where he's like, if I'm lucky, maybe I'll kill you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, if this is going down at Crown Jewel, is this the time to be introducing murder into a, like, I'm going to drag
accidentally behead you.
Right.
I'll be very happy.
I'm going to drag you out to the Saudi desert and murder you. That doesn't seem.
And they will never find you, nor will they look for you.
The same night Jackson Riker returned to television, right? Taking that beating there from Karrion Kross. Still Gladiator, Karrion Kross. Can we all roll our eyes collectively at that? Ridiculous. How does he cut such good promos in the back and then come out looking like that? It's weird.
I don't know. I mean, oddly enough, like, I don't completely hate the Gladiator thing. Then again, I'm also, on my Twitch channel, we watch Mid-South Wrestling several nights a week. And one of my favorite all-time characters of Mid-South is Lord Humongous. So, which has that exact, basically the same look. Not as cool of a mask as Karrion Kross has, but same exact literal look.
Well, Goldberg, Lashley, Goldberg should have beat Lashley here in the desert. It would seem,
Yeah,
right?
that sucks.
Right. That's what's going to happen here, and
It's
so I hope after that, I mean, we'll see what they do here with him and because the draft is going to start this Friday. So maybe they were throwing a lot of stuff out there, hey, we'll see how they do as a babyface. Hey, we'll see. Charlotte, be a babyface here. Let's see how that reaction works out. All right, be a heel here. Let's see how that one goes. Kind of felt like they were feeling the fans out here ahead of the draft starting this Friday night, maybe.
Well, the draft is always a really exciting time of the year. They get to reshuffle the deck, bring some talents from one to the other, and fingers crossed, people will get opportunities that they may not have gotten in other places. There's a whole list of people I would like to see go to SmackDown. I'm not sure who I want to see come to Raw.
Well, that was the poll question. Right. So, by the way, Tad predicts you're saying Gage versus Hook. Winner gets to call their company #1 wrestling company. Rob saying Gage fears Hook. And the Hot Tag Wrestling Podcast, heel Paul Pratt, # control you kids.
I don't. The point is, I don't think that makes me a heel to say that. Like, in the world of professional wrestling, when somebody jumps in the ring and jumps on a person, especially if it's from behind, when the wrestler responds, that doesn't make them a heel. Like, the idea of attacking somebody from outside the ring, if you're going to do that, at least do it to their face so that they know it's the kid. That's the point. Like, if he had jumped him from the front and Lashley had still done that, then it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this to a kid. The kid jumped on his back. So, to respond doesn't make you a heel.
Yeah. Well, hey, what does make someone a heel? Is Keith Bearcat Lee a heel now because he acts the same, but it doesn't smile? Is he a bad guy now? Because last night on Raw, he beat up Akira Tozawa after a really wild match between Reggie and Ricochet, by the way. But yeah, Keith Bearcat Lee. Thoughts on the Bearcat?
I'm glad to know, in our run sheet, that this was the debut of this Bearcat character, because
I said debut ?
Yeah, because I thought that I had, maybe it had been something that I'd missed for the last 6 weeks or something. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. Keith Lee was a sure bet 2 years ago or whatever when they decided to bring him up. They've just misfired. And instead of returning him to what everybody loved and letting him be what everybody loves, now he's a Bearcat.
Yeah. And Tozawa,
Bearcat,
but it was just weird because they don't want to boo him. They don't want to disrespect him by cheering. So what you got was a really flat reaction, in my opinion. I don't really know that the fans knew what to think. We're supposed to cheer Tozawa because he's the lovable cartoon character and hate you. It felt really flat to me. And you're right. It's just a surefire bet with this guy. And I don't know, man. Very odd.
Can I tell you, when they first introduced him, I was kind of half paying attention, and they introduced him. And they're like, the Bearcat. And I was like, did they just call him a meerkat? I thought, exactly from Lion King. I was like, did they just call him a meerkat? I had to rewind. I was like, oh, Bearcat. What the hell's a Bearcat?
Dave in. Who's Keith Lee? Is he any relation to Keith Bearcat Lee? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Brian Bills. What's not broken, don't fix it. Bask in my glory, Keith Lee.
Yes.
Nicholas here, my plant friend. Welcome back, Nicholas. Big E versus Keith Lee. And, on the other side of the draft or whatever, if they're going to keep these guys on Raw, I don't hate that match. It is. You're just playing with the fans' emotions at this point. You don't need to.
Yeah, I will just say that for whatever they do, my hope for Keith Lee is that they settle on something and it actually works so that he gets the opportunities that he has actually deserved.
Well, we got a super chat here from Loki07. Bearcat didn't work because Adam Cole wasn't with him, guys. That's all he needed. Of course, referencing the rumors that Adam Cole could have possibly been Keith Bearcat Lee's manager on the main roster, because why would you have him wrestle, right?
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on the other side of the coin here, AEW continues to build momentum. Showbuzz Daily saying Friday's taped 2-hour Grand Slam edition of Rampage did 640,000 viewers on average. Now, that's the average between the 2 hours. So the first hour they did 727,000 viewers, 0.32 in the 18 to 49. The first hour ranked number 1 in the cable top 150. The second hour, 552,000, 0.25 in the key demo. That was number 4 in the cable top 150. So the 2 hours on Friday night, in the top 5 occupied 40% of that real estate. That's pretty crazy, Paul.
What struck me is like it being pretty crazy was the fact that those numbers aren't incredibly impressive. Like, are they?
Well, for Friday night at that hour, yeah, and Friday's kind of a dead night for TV. You know, it's not like midweek, people are out doing things, you know. So yeah, it is really impressive, you know. And the thing is, like, they did 640,000 viewers, right? But like the demo on average, but their key demo, the amount of people who were watching that key demo range was so high, it offset, like, I believe the number 1 most watched show was like Fox News, like the 5 or something like that, did like 3+ million viewers on cable. But guess what? They're all really, really old. It's a couple young weirdos, right? But largely very old.
Who are forced to watch with their grandparents.
Sure. Very old demos. So for that key demo, yeah, very impressive for them. I mean, they were up 3.5% in the key demo from the week before. And they were up from last week where they were number 2 in the top 150, number 1 again. It was number 57 in viewership, up from which is actually down from last week's number 53 in overall viewership. But regardless, for a pre-taped show, they did very, very well. More good numbers to trot out, and the beat rolls on for AEW. As WWE's trying to find their own groove right now. So,
yeah, I think that the momentum is really building for AEW, and I think that they're just finding some footing. And right now, they have a lot of exciting changes that are happening on their show, and I think people want to tune in and see what is going to come. And I also think they want to tune in and see stars that WWE did not properly utilize or has had terrible relationships with, or who had high profile exits from that company, and get to see them used differently.
Yeah. Well, and tonight AEW's gonna have another, or tomorrow night AEW's gonna have another big show, Dynamite from Rochester, and AEW has announced that all ticket holders age 12 and older are going to be required to provide proof of at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine to enter the stadium. Per the policy. Sorry, I had to sneeze. You guys didn't hear that. I muted myself, right?
You did mute yourself.
Good. That was a courtesy. But yeah, per the policy issued by the arena, fans must show one of the following at entry, along with a photo ID matching the proof of vaccination. So, it's very easy to say, I wish AEW would do this everywhere, right? Which is like, you would hope that they would have a traveling policy. But my opinion of that has changed a bit after having a conversation with a friend of mine over the weekend who was set to go to a film festival down in Texas this past weekend. And when the film festival went to go institute COVID policies, right? Like, we're going to make you guys work because you're going to be in a movie theater. It's a film festival, masks. We're going to do some social distancing, maybe even proof of vaccination to, even attend the festival. In Texas, it is illegal to do anything that goes against the standards that the Texas state government has put into place, which is basically nothing. So you are not allowed to require vaccines for shows. You are not allowed to, in some places, require masks to do shows. And that blew my mind, Paul. Did you know that? I did not know that was going on in Texas.
Well, it's interesting to me because presumably Texas would also be this kind of place where it's like, well, we can selectively discriminate if we choose to in our environment, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of one of those things like it's cutting both ways because, like, no, you cannot do anything to protect, but you still can't do anything to protect. That would be my kind of guess. That, like, it's, what about the no shirt, no shoes, no service, or like we refuse, or we have reserve the right to refuse service to people? I would think it would fall under the same exact category.
Yeah, it's happening in other countries already, right? You get an app, the government has a well-run app, you go in, it says, hey, here's my QR code that says I've been vaccinated, scan this, can I please go have some chicken stir fry, right? So
it's pretty standard here, actually.
Right. And the thing that's crazy to me, though, is that like, as much as it would be great for them to require as they travel, they can't do. I don't know what Florida's like now. I'm like, what is Missouri like? So I wonder how these kinds of issues affect the touring schedules. Like, I don't think WWE or AEW won't run any of these markets where there aren't the same. I don't know. It's just weird to me how these different markets kind of dictate what you can and can't do. I feel like you should be allowed to have a traveling policy if you'd like.
I definitely think that they should have a traveling policy. Like, you know what, to protect our employees, but that is something that we are beginning to face. I think that conversation has become part of the new normal, which I hate that term, but it is like a new normal thing to do. Is like, well, how are we going to work around this?
Yeah. Mike Martin, governor. Oh, wait, here we go. Governor of Texas messed this one up. Day one with all of this, and yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. So,
well, I mean, I'm not sure that Texas agrees with that. You know what I mean? Like, you and others may agree with that, and even people in Texas, but as a total, like, I'm not sure that Texas agrees with that.
I don't know. I still have a lot of friends in Texas. It's weird, man. Texas is wild right now. Like, what is going on down there?
Yep.
Just get it together, guys. All right. A couple non-AEW WWE items here before we get to Jacob Fatu, and then we'll dive into the mailbag, talk a little bit more about the draft. Did you hear now? This happened there. I did not hear about this until like mid yesterday, and I kind of fell down a rabbit hole, started talking to a whole lot of people about this. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla had to issue a statement yesterday.
Oh, yes, of course. I heard about this.
Of course you did, yeah. I had to issue a statement yesterday about a fan incident that took place at Sunday's PWG Tremendous 6 event at the Globe Theater in LA. Now, a transgender fan on Twitter claimed they were punched in the back of the head while on the way to the bathroom before the event began. PWG released the following statement. We are aware of the incident that was reported on Twitter last night during Tremendous 6. Upon learning of the report, we immediately contacted the security and management of the Globe Theater, who investigated throughout the remainder of the night. No report was made to Globe or PWG staff or management last night or Sunday night. However, we are in contact with the victim and working closely with the Globe to address the situation. PWG is committed to being a safe, inclusive environment for all fans. We abhor and will not tolerate physical violence at our events. Now, I should note, too, this story was paired with some other tweets from fans who were at the show that noted, I guess there was like a group of fans that this was not their first time they're doing this, that come and regularly yell racial and homophobic slurs at wrestlers and create kind of a nasty environment. Now, I had only ever heard really good things about PWG. It's the first kind of blotch on it. I know this is more your bag. Were you surprised to hear these reports about PWG?
So first of all, I want to separate out this. This isn't an issue with PWG. This is an issue with a group of people who attended PWG. You know what I mean? The promotion, this isn't something that the promotion promoted. This isn't something that the organization kind of inspired. One of the things that we know about professional wrestling fans, we run an entire gamut of people, right? So we have people who are all across the spectrum, from like the very conservative to the very liberal, all people in shades in between. So while I think that some of people in the professional wrestling fandom are toxic and hateful and horrible? Yes, of course I do. And I also think that there's people in every fandom that are toxic and horrible. Was really disheartened to hear that this situation happened and transpired the way it did. Obviously, you mentioned this is my bag, right? Like this is the kind of like, oh, sorry, I got so excited I bumped my this is the kind of environment that this is the kind of thing that I always feared that prevented me for a long time from trying to even become active in the world of professional wrestling, because that exists. I've been very fortunate to discover that a lot on the flip side exists as well. A lot of support, love, and appreciation for people who just love and are passionate about pro wrestling. But to my knowledge, from what I know at this moment, this wasn't something that was inspired by Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, right? It's not, PWG did not inspire this to happen. And it sounds like they're taking action to make sure that it does not happen again.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think that the problem here, and again, like one person cuts and then there's like a million knives, right?
Right.
The problem here, I think, is that we got all of a sudden a lot of reports that said this is not like a one-off here where some people showed up, got drunk, and said some things. This is like a regular occurrence, right? And I don't want to put the heat on PWG and alone here, because you're right. Like a lot of people come to these shows and stuff. But how do we work towards creating a better, more inclusive space that doesn't put off that kind of stigmatized wrestling environment that really has done the business no service? Like how do we create a better space where that kind of behavior is not allowed? I think in recent years, FE has done a great job educating promoters about how to handle fans, through confrontation or bannings or suspensions or whatever it may be. I think further engagement in that needs to happen to kind of send that clear signal, especially, this isn't some fly-by-night independent promotion. These are, it's them. I pointed to Effie, but GCW obviously has taken its stand a time or two. But even still, and again, I don't want to put heat on GCW, but like I go to Effie's Big Gay Brunch. What a wonderful, friendly, fun, inclusive environment. That's kind of the whole vibe. I wasn't at Art of Warfare, but I heard a lot of people being like, yeah, the suck my dick jokes that were made at Effie's Big Gay Brunch don't really kind of play in the fun way when they're being screamed by a bunch of angry, drunk white boys, that are in the throes of a death match, right? So I struggle, and I wonder what it's going to take for us to kind of get to that space where this kind of behavior and environment weeds itself out, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think that we may be asking too much of society, like we may be holding too high of expectations, because I think that, a lot of that is dependent on people's levels of maturity and a variety of things. And I'm not trying to make excuses for that behavior, because I don't think it'll ever be acceptable, but I also don't have this twisted expectation that we can eradicate, human behavior.
But again, it's like, what can you do to regulate it, though, right? Like, what can you do?
Absolutely.
What can you do to help be a wind to the feather in the pond, right? To help push it in the right direction. Gary Lyle saying if they knew about these guys and they allowed this toxic environment to fester, that's one thing, right? If there's a group,
that's exactly correct. Like if they can identify individuals who have participated in this behavior and and address it very clearly, like this is not acceptable.
Right.
You will be escorted from the building if this is reported, if it's seen. I do think that those are kind of institutional like statements, behaviors, and actions that can support a more inclusive environment. Like we have the power to escort you out, whether you paid for a ticket or not, if you are being horrible and ruining the experience of other people who've also paid.
Yeah, because if you're pushing people out that are like, because I did see people on Twitter, they're like, I don't know that I'm going to go back to PWG shows, right? Like this just gotten too much for me, right? You push those people out, they're going to be replaced by people that are okay with that behavior. And then like, what do you really, and again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here. I don't really know PWG, from the NWA, honestly. But it's, for me, it's not about PWG. It's not about any one particular company. It's more the culture of professional wrestling and what we as promoters and fans are willing to put up with amongst the people that populate that space, and I don't know what it takes to get there, Paul. Maybe I am asking too much, but I do feel like holding fans accountable for not saying horribly offensive things is not too much to ask sometimes,
Yeah, and I think that, some of the things that culturally can change is when the people around you when other people in the audience itself are like, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. I think that's part of it. And then I think that organizations, being very clear with a message too, like, racism, hate speech of any kind will not be tolerated in this environment. And people who are engaging in that behavior will be escorted out and prevented from returning.
And maybe it would help if a few companies got together and made that a standard across the board at some of these larger promotions, right? Everybody likes playing together and sharing wrestlers. Why don't we all get together and share a moral compass? That would be maybe nice as well, to send a bigger signal about what is and is not, allowed at these events. Because nobody should have to go to a wrestling show and feel uncomfortable, because the guy next to you, calling people the F word or, the N word or whatever it may be. That's not something you should have to put up with at a wrestling event.
No, but let me tell you something. I've experienced it. Like, thank God nobody has called me anything derogatory directly, because believe it or not, y'all, I'm a peace-loving person, but I do not stand for that kind of bullshit. What?
I'm shocked.
But like I just won't. And I'm like, and if it requires getting physical, there's a trigger. It triggers me, and a switch flips. Especially, God forbid, I'm in drag and I experience it, because I literally think I'm a superhero. I don't know. There's like a mental capacity is like ruined when I'm in drag. Yeah. But those are the types of things that have made me uncomfortable in a lot of wrestling as a viewer in that capacity and in the audience, because it does exist and you hear it often. And the crazy part, Nick, I was at a wrestling show on Sunday, Underground Wrestling Alliance here. I was participating in that. And so I'm there in every, the full look. And this guy comes up and he was praising me. This is how crazy some people are, praising me. Oh my God, you were so good. I'm enjoying myself so much. And then he proceeded to tell me relate to me a story wherein back in the 80s, he called Jesse the Body Ventura a gay derogatory term. And he's sitting there telling me this. And I was like, I don't understand what makes, like, I just nodded and I was like, this guy's an idiot. But like, what makes you think that sharing that story, like, you've gone back to the 80s. Is there no other story that you can tell me about what a longtime fan of professional wrestling you are, without having to use a slur that's obviously going to be offensive in my case?
Yeah. That's not what wrestling's about.
No, it's not. But the thing is, like, we have to understand, and this is why I don't have a low standard for people. I have low levels of expectation for people to have things like common sense or, some levels of decency. I want that for the society, but I know that people slip through with no kind of education from family or friends.
And Antonio Garcia here saying live events and transportation companies need to start issuing lifetime bans on people that can't control themselves. And the thing is, like, as bad as this is, like, there's the airplane stuff where there's like 40,000 assaults or violence that have occurred with flight attendants in the past year, largely around Florida, by the way.
WWE chartered planes out of this.
I think WWE is in charge of the Transportation Administration. I think you're right. But like, even the flight attendants right now union is pushing to have those people that like assaulted them or became troubled passengers and had to be duct taped down to be put on no-fly lists.
They literally should be.
And they're being met with resistance, though, Paul, because there's too many people. And if you banned them all, they'd lose too much business. That's crazy. So anyway, I agree. Think about it. All them companies out there, you get together. This is a certain set of what we want, expectations for our fans out there. If you can't play the game, maybe it does go across a couple of promotions, right? Think about it. All right, lastly here, PWInsider.com saying a bench warrant has been issued for the arrest of former TNA Impact Wrestling star Raka Khan, Trinesha Biggers. Warrant was issued on Thursday, September 23rd. ahead of the scheduled start to Bigger's trial on charges of child custody and aggravated kidnapping. Facilitate. The trial is scheduled to begin Monday, October 4th in El Paso. I don't really want to get into the details of all this because I don't really think that Rocket Con is probably a name that's in our orbit other than this particular story, but the story did so much traffic, I just felt we should include it at the end of the run sheet here today, Paul.
I really want more details about it, specifics, because there's a lot of things that this could. I don't know. When I hear things like aggravated kidnapping of a child, in the case of a parent, usually that's somebody taking the child against the will of the other parent.
Right.
So, some kind of a custody battle. I don't know. My whole thought, the first thought is like that. I hope this settles down for that kid. Like that sounds really chaotic, and I don't want that child to be experiencing this. But yeah, like as soon as I saw the name, like of course there's associations with other wrestlers and from the past, like mostly romantic type of relationships or sexual relationships that she's had. So that's the first thing I thought of.
All right, everybody. Well, that brings us to the end of the show, or the mailbag, I should say. Thank you, Paul, for joining me to talk all the news of the day. Thank you to everybody who jumped in the comment section. Thank you to Jacob Fatu. Again, MLW Fightland goes down this Saturday night. Fatu, Hammerstone, title versus title. Check it out, and that'll bring us to today's mailbag. Today's mailbag brought to you by @Wink Daily, as it is every day. We are currently at 1,287 followers. We're creeping up on 1,300, and we're creeping up on 1,666 followers. Our Halloween goal that was set by you, Paul.
We still have weeks. We have 6 weeks.
Yeah.
People follow this.
Six spooky weeks. Ooh.
We need Danhausen to promote it.
If Danhausen promoted it, we'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So we get a week out, and we're not close to 1,666 followers, and my ability to invoke Satan to co-host the show with me. We'll go to Danhausen. We'll have him flip the switch. So anyway, the poll question.
According to some people, you've already got Satan co-hosting with you literally right now.
What are you talking about? By the way, Demon Diva, speaking about devils, great show, she says. Our friend from At Night, Isa in the house. Mike Martin, New York City Demon Diva. Again, Isa saying, I need Paul's background. Sending love.
It's literally a piece of fabric.
There you go.
Just go to a fake background.
Yeah. And this right here is all one piece of fabric too. It's a piece of fabric that looks
that's actually a virtual background, y'all.
Yeah. This right here.
Totally episode of Hoarders.
Totally virtual.
Oh.
So anyway. Yeah, virtual I can engage it. All right. Today's poll question comes from a report from the Wrestling Observer. I like when we actually get to talk a little news here in the mailbag. We only have about 5 minutes or so we'll do our best. Fox and USA know about the key people that are going to be switching brands in the upcoming draft. It was noted that NXT stars will be included in the draft this year in an effort to freshen up the rosters. However, it was also noted things could change at any time. Various NXT stars have been working dark matches before SmackDown over the past month, including Austin Theory, Casey Catanzaro, Xia Li, Aaliyah, and Dakota Kai, and as well as a Davey Boy Smith Jr., who worked some dark matches this past summer. No updates where he will land, but I had forgotten Davey had signed, but this seems like the best way to maybe work him back into the mix as a surprise draft pick or something for Raw and SmackDown.
I'm not a fan.
Not a fan of Davey?
I don't know him as an individual or a person, but I just there's something missing from him that his father had. So
I think I know he doesn't really have much empathy. The stories I've heard about him fighting people in the cage are rather brutal. So just let him off the chain. He doesn't need to talk. Give him a Paul Heyman type. I think
that probably would be the best.
Yeah, I don't think Davey should be talking. I think he needs a mouthpiece, and him and Lashley would really put on some bangers. Him and Cross have worked together before at Bloodsport. By the way, Dave corrected me. It's not Isa, it's Issa. Apologize, Issa, and she thanked Gary for correcting me.
Latin pronunciation.
The Latin pronunciation.
The I sounds like an E, a long E.
I stepped on the wrong stone and nearly fell to my death. Right. Little Indiana Jones jokes for you guys out there. But yeah, so today's poll question about the draft: who do you want to see go from Raw to SmackDown? Who should be drafted? The more positive of the two, since SmackDown seems to be firing all cylinders. Do you want to see Drew McIntyre go there, Shayna Baszler go there, Ricochet go there, or somebody else? A little over 200 votes here, 38.4%. Number one, Ricochet. Right behind him at 37.4%, Drew McIntyre. 20% Shayna Baszler. Only 4% thought somebody else. For your money, who do you want to see move to SmackDown, Paul?
Absolutely voted for Ricochet. I think that Ricochet has a style that would be best utilized on SmackDown. I think he would fit in there terrific. I think he could be slotted into incredible storylines with pretty much anyone, and because his in-ring acumen is so incredible. I think that we've always, I don't know, at some point or another, we've become to think of Raw as like the bigger man's like land, whereas people who have like a smaller stature, and Ricochet by no means is like a tiny individual, but comparatively speaking to what they're looking to promote over there, he doesn't build up to the stature. So I would much rather see him doing anything on SmackDown than involved. I mean, as great as that match with Reggie was on last night, I don't want to see anybody relegated to a 24/7 title.
Fair enough. I'll take a write-in here from Twitter, and I'll read a couple write-ins here because the comment section is exploding right now. At Vancity Connor said he wants to see the Hurt Business get drafted over to SmackDown, all of them as a group to feud with the Bloodline.
I saw that.
I don't hate that at all, man.
I don't hate it either.
All that entire group. Lashley has run his course. He'll do the Goldberg match for a big money payday at Crown Jewel, and then Lashley Roman Reigns is not nothing to scoff at, you know.
Nope. I like the idea. I saw that this morning before we went live. Really like the idea.
I like that idea a lot too. Yeah, Praddock here also saying Lashley to SmackDown. Dave in Lily to SmackDown.
It's inevitable, and she's going to be teaming. I heard with Charlie.
Oh yeah, Charlie. She'll be
Charlotte Flair doll. Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Anybody else? Anything that I haven't seen? We see Nicholas, my plant friend, Keith Lee. He could be headed to SmackDown.
Do you mean that he likes plants, or you planted him and pretend he's your friend?
Yeah, he's my look, Nicholas. He's got that plant right there. You know,
makes me want to use that app that tells me what the random plants are.
Oh yeah, that's a good app. I'm a horticulturist. I love plants. I have quite a few plants in my own living room. So if you want to get my attention, make your little photo there of a plant.
You know what they say, you can lead a horticulture, but you can't
but you can't make them culture, make them bloom. All right, we're down here, everybody. That's the end of everything. That's the mailbag. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be joined by Brian Wool, and we're actually going to do a double dose of Brian Wool. We're going to have me and B-Will co-hosting Talking the News. Then we're going to hear Brian's WWE SummerSlam weekend conversation with Nikki Ash. And then, more news, more mailbag all tomorrow. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com. We're on all your socials. Wrestling Inc. podcast goes live at night after the big shows, including tonight after NXT. It's just like this, different faces, different personalities. Yep. Saw a lot of write-ins about how much people love Glenn. Glenn is a part of the post shows. Go support Glenn in the post shows.
Absolutely.
And I think that's it. Paul, what do you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap up the show today?
Hey, I don't have anything really to plug or promote except for the fact that stay tuned here to Wrestling Inc. and the Wrestling Inc. Daily, because very soon we will have my Aaron Stevens interview. I did that yesterday. We're going to have that. It's going to be up, as well as if you like podcasts, go out and check out The Pope, Elijah Burke's podcast. I'm going to be a guest this weekend on the episode that releases on Saturday. And of course, catch both Nick and myself back here on Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for more of this.
Yeah, so we'll be back on Thursday. In about 90 seconds, my interview with Jacob Fatu premieres on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. Jump over there, jump in that chat room, watch that, enjoy. I just checked my email. It looks like it's confirmed. So this Monday night, replay Lincoln Park. Come join me for the WWE draft party. It's free to attend, free to watch, $3 drafts. I'll be giving away free WWE merchandise. It's going to be an absolute blast, so come out for that. I am at Nick_Houseman over on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.